2020 is the beginning of the age of catastrophe. It's kind of the future warning us about what's on the cards for us. Because the grim truth that I think we're not facing is that our civilization is now beginning to collapse in very real and very serious ways.
Most Americans are comforted in the belief that their government and the country's best and brightest will step up to protect them.
The entire idea of American exceptionalism and the illusion of national security is that we are strong and that we can take a blow or that we'll protect Americans from some sort of major attack or some sort of cataclysm. But the truth is that we are very brittle right now.
We're always looking ahead to an America that never leaves anyone behind.
Just filming, just filming.
Oh my God.
But what if it turns out that the greatest threat in this age of catastrophe is that this idea that Americans will pull together in times of crisis is dead, killed by decades of treating American freedom as the freedom to get ahead at any cost?
Stopping it there, and welcome to Mika Reaction Reviews. We're reacting to things on the internet, same day, same shirt, different video. And today we're reacting to a new person or a new channel. We're reacting to Vice TV. You know, they have multiple channels on YouTube. I have my gripes with Vice. They're very progressive and they're very left, but what they do right is like these little micro documentaries, whether they're biased or not, but they do them really well. And so this one, the title of this one was, Are We Living in the Age of Catastrophe or Just the Age of Catastrophe? And I think you could take this video in two different ways. You can take it as a wake-up call to clean up your room and to become self-sufficient, self-reliant, and, you know, prepare. Or you can let this black pill you, and it can be also seen as fear-mongering in a way. But I tend to agree so far with what they're saying is, I don't know if it started in 2020, I think it started some years before that. But I think because of the global situation with the virus, I think that was a wake-up call for a lot of people, that how easily your nice little society can collapse. And I think like even something like Katrina has showed us that no, when shit hits the fan, a lot of times you're alone. But is the idea that America's coming together in a time of crisis dead? I don't think that's dead. I don't think that's dead at all. However, I can see why it looks like that because of so much division that has been stoked by media, by social media, and by just your neighbors alike. But I still agree that people don't realize how fragile systems really is. I'm actually watching this TV series, I forget the name of it, but it's about what happened in Katrina. Speaking of Katrina, about when 5 days this hospital was cut off, no electricity. With no electricity, you can't help your patients, from preemies to people who just got a heart transplant, right? And so they had, I'm not finished the series, but I think the gist of it is like they had to make a decision at some point. No help was coming. The National Guard wasn't coming. Even their backup plan of insurance wasn't coming. No one was helping them. And within 5 days, shit, like it was basically like the end of the world for them, basically contained in this hospital. And they had to make a decision whether to let these patients suffer or to peacefully, mercifully end their lives. And so basically that's what the movie is, that's what the TV series is about, is sort of investigating these nurses and the hospital staff and stuff like that. In the series that's depicted off of real life, they asked one of the doctors, what was the thing that stood out to you the most about what happened in Katrina? And he said, what stood out the most was that it was just 5 days. It took 5 days and everything fell apart. And I think that's the part where I agree with, but I still think that people do tend to come together. Yeah, when you're in desperate situation, the worst comes out of people. That will also happen, but I do think you will also see the most bravest people that you would never expect come to your aid and rescue you. Anyway, let's continue.
During normal times, it's easy to think, oh, the elite, the 1%, they're actually concerned about everybody's welfare. But then in that moment of crisis, when elites treat it as an opportunity for profiteering, rent-seeking, gouging from the public purse.
I agree with that. Never let a catastrophe go the waste kind of thing. It's kind of like how in the last couple of years of the global virus, it was the biggest transfer of wealth. And whoever thought that the elite had our best interests at heart? Who is that blue-pilled? Anyway, let's continue.
That's the recipe for a failed state.
As the U.S. economy ground to a halt and millions of Americans were put out of work, we witnessed how vulnerable our way of life really is.
I think people are scared about two things. They're related. The first is the idea that we have built a technological society whose comforts we are reliant upon, whose coordination we need to sustain our current population, that if you just turned off all the machines tomorrow, that kind of handmade version of our society where all the crops were brought in by hand and so on would provoke mass die-offs.
I totally agree with that as well. I think that America definitely relishes in all this technology advancements and innovation that has come up with, which you should. That's one of the things that makes America great, right? However, it is also a very, very fragile system. If everything is so interconnected by these computers and technologies, it doesn't take much to just shut it all down. When people talk about like cyber wars and stuff like that, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I personally don't live in big cities. And I've always said if there was something like a zombie apocalypse, I would much rather be in rural areas with rural people than in big cities with city people, because rural areas, people are more self-sufficient and self-reliant. They don't just push a button and everything just happens for them, right? A lot of things they have to do by hand and manually, and it's just a mental strengthness and tenacity that rural people have that city people really don't have. Like, city people has a different type of tenacity when it comes to just dealing with other city people, but or like crime or something like that. Yeah, anyway, let's continue.
And the story we've been sold is part of the other fear, which is that our institutions are no longer trustworthy, that they have become not truth-seeking exercises, but rather auction houses in which people who are powerful and wealthy can buy a version of the truth that suits their parochial ends. In a world in which the Sacklers successfully convinced the FDA that opioids weren't dangerous and kickstarted an opioid epidemic that killed 200,000 Americans, more than died in Vietnam, and where the Sacklers themselves became richer than the Rockefellers, how do you trust an institution?
I 100% agree with that. And it's the same thing as like trust the science. Yes, you should still trust facts and data, guys. However, when it's starting to be more and more apparent that scientists can be also bought and sold because people who have a certain ideology and a narrative they want to push are lining the scientists' pockets so they can research other things that are more personally passionate to them, they will go ahead and go, yeah, sure, so give me this money so I can research what I want to research. So like when that becomes more and more apparent, it's like, well, can you trust them? It's the same thing with like the FBI right now. I know the whole thing with, you know, our dear old, you know, ex-president is going on, and I'm not saying it's a grand conspiracy, and if he is guilty of something, he should pay the time for that. But then I found out by looking at a Russell Brand video that the FBI was also accused and maybe found guilty of trying to blackmail Martin Luther King into offing himself. And then the other conspiracy is that they offed him. You know what I mean? So like, it makes you think, if they're willing to do that, if they're willing to push the morals like that, why wouldn't they lie about this? It's like you can't even trust the people that are supposed to be the most trustworthy. You definitely can't trust the mainstream media, the legacy media, because they have been caught multiple times lying, being biased, or constructing a narrative a certain way. You know what I mean? When you find out your academic higher education institutions are heavily leaning one direction when it comes to ideology, they're not going to be balanced when it comes to worldview. So how can you even trust all of that? You know what I mean? And it's been some pretty nasty things that has been birthed out of academia, like postmodernism and some shit that goes along with that I'm not going to get into in this video. And so I agree. Let's continue.
Something like an EMP attack would wipe out not just the infrastructure that we have, but we would see very, very quickly the distance between the importance by which the government seeks their own survival and the survival of the American people. This idea of national security would collapse almost instantaneously.
But in the age of catastrophe, it doesn't really take an EMP to see what happens when the lights go out. and our basic institutions start to fail us. We all just lived through 2020.
So what happens when somebody now doesn't have a job, doesn't have the basic kind of access to resources that we take for granted in the rich world? You turn on the tap, water doesn't come out. You go to the store and there's not enough food. You press the button and there's no electricity. What happens? Well, history tells us when people grow suddenly poorer, what happens is massive waves of authoritarianism and fascism. History tells us that in absolutely unsparing terms. So that's the story of Weimar Germany becoming Nazi Germany. It's the story of Stalinist Russia. It's the story of the Islamic world. It's also the story of America today.
Impressed by that, because again, Vice is very left-leaning, and even though they didn't say certain words, I felt like they lent heavily towards certain things, and they didn't seem all that biased when it came to ideologies and stuff like that and corporations. So I'm actually thoroughly impressed with this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Yeah, I think that a lot of people are scared. I don't think that's the emotion you should dwell on. I think you should see the writing on the wall, and again, prepare, move, change, diversify your income, all that stuff. Like anything that you can do to make sure that you're ready for the storm if the storm is coming, that's all you can do. But being just scared, you see it, like people are losing their fucking mind, like crime is going up, people are attacking each other all the time in the streets. Like it feels like, and maybe this is hyperbolic, but it feels like the West or America sold its soul to the devil, and the devil came to collect. It just feels like there's something dark, some bad energy, something is not right. And it's felt like that for a few years now, for me and for other people who's felt like something's off. I've even met people who've moved from the States to Southeast Asia, and they get interviews. Like there's a YouTube channel called Old Dog New Tricks, or Every Man Has a Story or something like that on YouTube, where this man interviews other men who've moved to the Philippines, and a lot of them who come from the States say this, that it feels like something's about to hit the fan and I needed to get the fuck out of there. That's a lot of people's feelings right now. But I don't think fear or being black-pilled is the thing that you should lean on. I already said what I had to say about that. But anyway, guys, tell me what you think of this video. I liked it. If you'd like me to do more videos like this, let me know in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal and Cash App link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, subscribe. Another great way to support the channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below, and links to all of the eternal platforms I'm on, my socials, including my Twitter. Other ways to support me and other ways to contact me for business is always in the links down below. And if you like, you can super thanks. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle, or I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go to the description box below and also in the comment section. Hit the link, go subscribe to my travel vlog channel, and there follow me, my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date. And I also have my other channel, Speak Freely, links down below. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye!